Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and this is our Raiders Cowboys post-game reaction. If this was a regular season game, I would be on here and I would be one just ticked off individual. This was a shitty performance by this Raiders team. The defense just did not show up. The depth really struggled from top to bottom, and believe me, we'll talk about the defense. There's no doubt about it, because they made Will Grier look like the greatest quarterback that has ever stepped foot on an NFL field. I mean, Grier had 305 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also accounted for 2 rushing touchdowns, over 53 yards on 10 carries. I mean, it was unbelievable. But really what I want to talk about today is Aidan O'Connell. We're going to talk about Kristian Wilkerson. He had himself a hell of a game. And then I also want to talk about Tyree Wilson. The biggest 2 things that Raider fans should take away from this game. Let's just talk about Tyree Wilson, Aidan O'Connell, and then coming up tomorrow on the Raiders Report, I'll probably do an extra Raiders 53-man roster, some winners and losers. But there was a lot to gain from today's game based on which players played in the third quarter and which players were playing in the fourth quarter as well. Now, I can already see a lot of Raider fans asking me, Mitch, what happened with Aidan O'Connell? He was 17 of 26, 178 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. His clear-cut favorite receiver was Kristian Wilkerson. It's not even close. Wilkerson was the only Raiders player today that had more than 4 targets. He saw 13. I will admit that the play calling seemed a little vanilla. Like, Josh McDaniels made it look like he didn't really want to open up the playbook to see, or he didn't want to, like, have other teams, like, see what he was doing. But I'll also admit, this was the game where Aidan O'Connell came back down to earth, right? Those first 2 preseason games, you're like, holy shit, this guy should start over Jimmy Garoppolo. He looks incredible. Today, he came back down to earth here a little bit, which is going to happen from time to time. And when defensive coordinators get more tape on you, that's also going to be a thing. But I'll also admit, like, watching this game, the receivers for the Raiders simply were not getting open. So how about this? You be the judge right now. Grade the play of Aidan O'Connell against the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's post-game reaction cut. A, B, C, D, or F. My answer is going to be coming up right now. My answer on Aidan O'Connell's play is a C. It was a very average day. And honestly, I don't even know if it's an average day for O'Connell. I bet you if you asked Aidan what he would give himself in today's performance, he'd probably give himself a D or an F, because from what we saw in the first 2 preseason games compared to what we saw today, it did not quite look the same. I still have confidence in O'Connell, because I do think if you were to put out there a Jacoby Myers, a Devontae Adams, a Hunter Renfrow, they would be able to create a lot more separation than what the Raiders saw this week. Plus, running game is going to be better now that Jacobs is back, right? And the offensive line would have been a lot better as well. All right, Kelly, what up? Mitchell, honestly, please tell me what your predictions are. Remember, for those of you watching live, hashtag Raiders Super Chat, get those questions, comments on our show. I would say the Raiders are an 8-9 win football team. If they get lucky, they can win 10-11. If they get unlucky, they'll win 7-6. But if I was in Vegas right now and I sold the over-under at 7.5 wins, I would bet the over. Haters and usually people who are saying that this is a tank team are more Derek Carr fans than they are Raider fans, which it's fine. People are grown. They're adults. They can do what they want. But this is not a tank type of team. They have way too much talent offensively. They have a lot of good depth defensively. This is a better overall roster for this team, and you got an upgrade at quarterback. So it's going to be a lot better than what a lot of people think. What up, Rebel? Tonight, losers are the defensive tackle, corners, and zones. I mean, anytime the Raiders played zone, they got torched tonight, and a lot of times defenses will play zone when they feel outmatched, and I don't really think that they wanted to put some of their other talented players out there because you don't want to risk injuries. The corners tonight struggled. The safeties struggled. The defensive tackles were bad. I mean, let's be real. You give up 31 points to the Dallas Cowboys and Will Grier. It was a really rough defensive game to look at. Well, let's not get it twisted. The offense didn't play well either. Now, if you're looking for daily videos around the Las Vegas Raiders, I got you covered here. What I'll say to all the new fans that watch this show, especially this time of the year, is this. Hit that subscribe button. If you don't like what you see after a week, unsubscribe. And you have nothing to lose. Believe it or not, when you hit sub, it helps me out a lot. It helps this channel out, and it continues to help this channel continue to grow and grow. Now, usually the only people that really rip on me on social media are people who make fun of me for working for the Jets when I was in college to pay my way through school. But guess what? I'm getting a Raiders tattoo on Thursday, and I'm hoping And we finally put to bed the people who are just doing a lot of yapping about me not being a Raider fan. I bleed silver and black. I love this team to the end of the world and back, but I love Raider Nation a lot more. So I'm getting my Raiders tattoo next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications. It's going to be 16 hours of tattoo, and not all on Thursday. Thursday, Friday, we'll split it up. I got a Raiders tattoo guy coming in from L.A., big-time Raiders Report watcher. It's going to be a hell of a show. Let's go to Jacob Holt. Meek should make the roster. That 48 dude is so bad. Again, he's not going to be battling it out with Azizi Hearn. Azizi's a UDFA, so it's not going to be in competition. Meek's going to be battling for those final roster spots with Tyler Hall, who was playing very late in the game today, with David Long Jr., with Duke Shelley is going to be in competition, Sam Webb. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can look at it. Jakorian Bennett didn't play. Nate Hobbs didn't play. Marcus Peters didn't play. And Brandon Faison did not play. Now, Faison, he's injured, so I'm not going to account for that. Bennett's been battling a little bit of a lingering injury as well. But, I mean, Hobbs, Bennett, Peters, they're locks. Faison, to me, is probably going to be put on the IR, which means you can keep a few extra corners. From what I saw today, though, I mean, there is nothing that's locked and loaded in stone. But I do think, and I mean this, I do think Meek is an interesting player, but I don't know if he's going to make this roster. Let's go to Toby. Your opinion, did AC4 do good? Talking about Aidan O'Connell, AOC. I'm kidding. He did okay, right? He had an average game for a fourth-round rookie. That's the God-honest truth. If a fourth-round rookie would have had the game O'Connell did, we would have been like, all right, whatever. But it's because of the way he played in the first two preseason games, the expectations were here. I can't even put it on screen. They were here. The fact that he played this well, I think it feels like it's a little bit of a letdown game. Now, here's the one thing, man. I never want to let you guys down for the OG Raiders Report watchers out there. People watch the show the entire week. I told you, the number one bet that you need to make in this game, bet the over. Life's too short to bet the under, and this was an easy over hit. It was at 38.5 points, and this one hit. You can use promo code Raiders125, but you got to go to chatsports.com/Raiders. You're going to be able to save you're going to get a 125% deposit bonus. So when you put down $100, you get $125 for free to bet with. Imagine right now, after that Raiders tailgate, after that Raiders game, you go home, you order a pizza, they give you a free pizza, and then they give you an extra 2 slices for free. That's how good of a deal that is. Let's go to Wild One, tonight's MVP. Tonight's winner was me in getting Mitch to eat the cheese. If I held on to the MVP, have Trace sign my ball too. Hey, Wild One, you won the MVP. If you don't know what he's talking about, every game day we do an MVP item. So tonight's MVP item goes to Wild One 14. Raiders Report Football. Congratulations to you. Me, Chuggs, and Trace will sign your Raiders Report Football. Let's go to Kevin. Is it just me or does Duke Shelley look bad? I'm a little bit underwhelmed from what I have seen so far from Shelley. The problem is, though, when I watch film, okay, I believe Shelley is a better overall player than David Long Jr. I really, truly do. However, though, Shelley does look outmatched, and he does not quite look like he's feeling or playing as nearly close to what he was doing in Minnesota. Raiders have a lot of tough decisions to make. There's no doubt about that. But Duke Shelley, by no means, is a lock to make this team. They put him on the 4th of the depth chart. Though I don't know how much that matters because Alex Bars was playing in the 4th quarter of this game, and he's listed as number 1 at right guard. How about this, though? Let me know right now down in the comment section. I want you to name a roster bubble player that deserves to make this team. That you're like, man, it's a coin flip to know whether or not he makes it, but that's a guy that deserves to make this roster. I want to know right now down in the comments from every single one of y'all, name a roster bubble player that deserves to make this team. All right, we got a few more questions, comments here on our post-game reaction. And if you don't know, as soon as the game ends, we do a post-game show to talk about everything that just happened. To get more updates around the Raiders, you can always follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. I do my best to keep you guys up to date. If I look gassed, it's because Chuggs and I had a hell of a day. We went live earlier today for the Josh Jacobs news. So happy that the star running back is back in the silver and black. Then we went out to Dallas. I shouldn't say I went out to Dallas. We went down to Arlington, tailgated it up, man, in 100 and 50-degree weather, it felt like. Came back to the watch party. If you guys don't show some love to Chuggs, because not many people can put in a 14-hour workday in that type of heat, you eat corn the long way. So give Chuggs a little bit of a round of applause. Let's go to last alpha. O'Connell is consistent with his accuracy. We have a possible QB battle. I don't think we have a quarterback battle just because McDaniels is more stuck in his ways and they're going to roll with Garoppolo. But I have said this, if Garoppolo gets hurt and O'Connell steps in, that's a lot of a different conversation where I don't know if O'Connell gives the job up. I really don't. Because if O'Connell does have Devontae, Jacoby, Hunter, right, like a first-team offense, I think he would look a lot better than what you saw tonight. Let's go to CJ. What do y'all think of Wilkerson? I think today's game plan for the Raiders was let's get Wilkerson as much work as humanly possible to see if he's good enough to make this team, right? He's a former Patriot. He offers you some special teams value. More of a quick gadget slot type of receiver. Aidan O'Connell obviously liked him a lot, but they had a lot of plays drawn up for him tonight. Saw 13 targets, brought in 10 catches for 122 yards. He's a good receiver. I just think Philip Dorsett fits what this Raiders team needs more because Dorsett's a field stretcher. Let's be real. If the sixth receiver on our team is Philip Dorsett or Wilkerson, Wilkerson doesn't stretch the field like Dorsett does. I want a guy that can take off the defense or take off the top off a defense, which gives Jacoby, Hunter, Devontae a one-on-one situation, or you can just run the football with Jacobs. Chris, final question here. Should have drafted Jalen Carter instead of trying to act high and mighty with the Raiders. I mean, there's no doubt. Jalen Carter was the number one player on my big board. Phenomenal overall athlete. He's already showing that he can be that guy, and there were a lot of teams that passed on him. The red flags were there. Tyree Wilson himself has some red flags as well. I just think for the Raiders, they felt like Tyree was safer because of the off-the-field issues compared to Jalen. Las Vegas compared to Philly, you can say what you want. Both cities, millionaires, though it's not. If a kid's got $1 million and they're in a city, it's not going to be easy. I wish the Raiders probably would have went with Jalen Carter over Tyree Wilson, but it's neither here or there. We'll see what ends up happening. If Tyree goes out and ball, might be a different conversation. All right, y'all, the next time that you're going to see me here live on the Raiders Report is Tuesday when Jeremy and I, we're going to be live basically like all day Tuesday. Raiders got to get their roster down to 53 players. They got to go from 91 all the way down to 53. They do have the extra player because of David Agoa, the international pathway player, but we'll be live basically like all day Tuesday. The Raiders got to make their roster cuts by 4 p.m. Eastern time. Don't be surprised if you see a few players get cut over the next 24 hours to try to trim down that roster. We've seen a few teams do that already. So from me, from Jeremy Chuggs, much love to all y'all, and peace out. Have a good night.